everyone. Just give us 2 minutes before we start, and we will be with you right back. You enjoy the music. Yes, welcome. Today is Thursday, and it's an amazing Thursday because we got great news, very special for us. So, welcome to another DEGA space, and this is, sorry, history in the making. So, today we're really happy, really excited, a lot of things happening. So, but the first thing I gotta ask you all of the people present in here is to please
the space.
retweet the space
Share
and
this shit.
share this shit everywhere. So you know it. We need to get the voice out. So let's kick it off. Carlos, how are you? Carlos, CEO and founder of.
Hey, the freak, doing well, man. Coming up, basically, last thing I did yesterday was an X space, right, with Clay After Dark folks, and today in the morning, first thing is a space again. So, pretty much living in Elon's app now,
You're an astronaut. You're living in space.
basically.
Oh, that's good, bro. But we need to get the voice out. You're the best. You're the best at doing that. The way you spoke yesterday, it was great. It was really amazing. I think you knocked it out of the park last night. You were the best one. Like we spent hours waiting for you, and then at the end, you made it worth it. So thank you.
Thanks, thanks. No, it was those guys have a really cool show, so I really have to say I enjoyed it. I was some waiting there, but I didn't feel any boredom, right? Like I was completely engaged the entire space. So happy to have been a part of that yesterday.
They're quite a bunch. They were quite a bunch. There was like five of them, taking over the space and putting music. It was really active. I liked it.
There was like three hosts and one DJ.
Oh, and they had good music, by the way.
Yeah, that was really good music, dude.
Yep. Okay, so let's kick it off, Carlos, because today's big. There's a lot of work to get done today, but there's huge, 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 huge news because today we're writing history in blockchain. Today, DEGA is creating a historic moment in blockchain because we're actually the first ever multi-chain ISPO officially. And we're also the first ISPO in the Polkadot ecosystem. So
Yep.
that's huge.
Yep. It's the very first one. This is a concept that's very well known in the Cardano ecosystem, but nobody knows it in the Polkadot universe. So yeah, indeed, the very first one.
Amazing. So we're gonna be getting a lot of new people in here, a lot of the Polkadot people, and they've never heard of ISPOs unless they went to Cardano before. So I think it's fair we start with the basic. You know, what the fuck is an ISPO?
Yeah. I mean, it's good to clarify that just because, as you're saying, the Cardano people will get it immediately, but the Polkadot people that are new to this concept need to be kind of educated on what this concept is about, right? And essentially, it's a method to be able to do a fair distribution or fair token allocation for a project's protocol, um, while avoiding some of the common pitfalls with the current way of doing things, via initial DEX offerings or initial coin offerings or initial exchange offerings. And just like list a few of those issues, right? Like some of the problems is, first off, these other mechanisms are basically FOMO based in terms of they have to be either a boom or a bust on day one, right? So if you do an ICO and you don't sell, either sell out or at least sell the majority of your tokens on the first day, then you're considered a failure, right? Everybody's like, you suck, you couldn't get the audience, so like you died on the first try, right? That's a common problem with ICOs, right? With initial DEX offerings, you have another problem, which is counterparty risk. So, for example, in an initial DEX offering, you need to do a pair, a liquidity pair, right? Say, for example, if we were to do DEGA ADA, right, or DEGA DOT, um, you would need to have, if you have ADA, you would need to buy DEGA and then stake it, right? The same with DOT, right? But that leaves you with a counterparty risk, right? Other projects, what they do is, what they've done in the past, malicious people have over minted their own coin and then they go to the DEX and just dump on the other side, right? So that means you have counterparty risk. If the contract is mintable, then that's a huge exposure for you. Like you could lose your entire capital, right? So there's principal capital risk is what I would call that, right? So we have FOMO for the startup, that's an issue. We have counterparty risk for the supporter, the project supporter, that's another risk. And for example, in initial exchange offerings, IEOs, you have centralization, um, you have discrimination of people based on their geography, right? And I don't know, to give you an example that you wouldn't, because a lot of people say, well, North Korea, Iran, but there was some sites in which I would see Guatemala was blacklisted. I was like, what the hell? I mean, if Guatemala and Honduras are pretty much the same, right? So why would you allow Honduras and not Guatemala? So for some reason, some agency must have some flag against Guatemala, right? I don't know if that's the case still, but there were some websites, some crypto sites that were blocking Guatemala. So that's an issue with IEOs, right? So ISPOs address all of these issues in a very elegant way, right? So the way they work is, as we all know, in proof of stake systems like Cardano, Polkadot, we have the validator. It produces blocks, right? And you get rewarded for producing blocks. It can be ADA in Cardano, it can be DOT in Polkadot. And the more you have staked, the more blocks you mint. Therefore, the more rewards you get, right? And people can delegate to you. It's not only your capital, right? You can start off with, let's say, if you have $5,000, $10,000, but then people can delegate to you. That increases your stake, and now you mint more because people are trusting. They're signaling to the network that they trust you. So normally, when we mint more blocks and we generate more rewards, the validator would keep, like, say 5% of the rewards and then distribute 95% proportionally against all the delegators, right? And what an ISPO does is say the validator will keep 100% of the rewards, right, from the new blocks, but distribute their own project token to the delegators, right? So the delegator, let's say if the delegator had 10,000 ADA or 10,000 DOT, you will always have that, right? You're not risking your principal capital. But when you're delegating to a validator that's doing an ISPO, you're getting that project tokens, right? But you're forfeiting the staking rewards, right? So that's kind of like the exchange that you have in that mechanism, right? It's essentially a tool that allows everybody around the world to set up. You can do both sides from anywhere in the world, right? You can set up a validator anywhere, and you can be a delegator no matter where you live. So somebody in Taiwan can support a project in Nicaragua, for example, right? And they never risk their principal capital but still get exposure to the new project tokens, right? So that's kind of like what it's about in that sense.
I I see it. For me is being the ISPO has been one of the coolest things that I discovered with you, because it also opened my eyes to possibilities, new possibilities of new models, and keeping my money and supporting projects, creators, or whoever is doing this. So for a project like DEGA, it makes complete sense. And but the world, this is something new. It was very tight on Cardano, and it was happening there. In the rest of the world, we were not seeing that happen,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess we were missing it.
Yeah.
And it's why go after doing the Cardano ISPO? Why go to Polkadot and create this? Why Polkadot ISPO?
Yeah, got the same question yesterday in the Clays After Dark after dark space, and it's because first thing, as anybody that's good in finance or math could tell with this, if a project is generating cash flow from the yield generated, that means that it's capital intensive, right? That means that obviously if you just have $1,000, you're just going to generate like $4, right, every month. So you need to have massive amount of capital. So if we look, we all know there's like a new blockchain coming out every day, right? Everybody and their mother is launching a blockchain. So how do we really know which ones to work with? Well, for an ISPO, you definitely need to go into the billions, right? There has to be a blockchain that has a market cap in the billions. We can't do it with a blockchain that has 100 million market cap. It would be too little. So that immediately eliminates like a whole bunch of candidates, right? Like, we're talking about maybe 15 blockchains, 20 blockchains that are in that range, right? And second, the other thing that these projects need is they need to be proof of stake, right? So you can't do an ISPO on Bitcoin. You can't do it on um, Ethereum Classic, for example, which is the other proof of work. Man, there used to be so many proof of work in the top 10. Now all of them have been like going down. Litecoin is another one, right? You could not do an ISPO there because they're proof of work instead of proof of stake. Then the other attribute that you need is to have delegation, right? Not all blockchains allow you to do a delegation. Then the fourth and final attribute is you need to be able to set up a custom fee, right? I need to be able to say how much of the rewards as a validator I want to keep. So that's why ISPOs were like born naturally in Cardano. And for everybody here that's from the Cardano ecosystem, I gotta tell you, it's just incredible. We're incredibly blessed to have the proof of stake system that we have at the Cardano world, just because it's like super simple. It's super that simple, man. Every other proof of stake system has all of these complexities that I'm like, they over engineered most of those systems. So Polkadot has also all of those attributes, right, needed, right? It's proof of stake is more complicated than Cardano, but it has all the basic attributes needed for an ISPO. So again, you need to be in the billions in terms of market cap. You need to be a proof of stake system. You need to have delegation, and you need to have custom fees. So obviously, Polkadot was a natural fit for ISPOs.
Okay, so continuing to the question, in the question, there will be other ISPOs coming in other chains, but this is the first multi-chain ISPO ever. Like today officially happened.
Yeah, this is the very
Am I
first.
right?
Yes, this is the very first multi-chain ISPO ever.
And the first one in Polkadot ever. So it's two historic moments in blockchain right now being written
That's right.
by DEGA.
That's right. That's right.
Dude, so before we continue, I want to remind you all we need to let the world about this because you're part of it. We're writing history.
Retweet the space.
Please retweet the space
Share
and
this shit.
share this shit as they our bots tell us. to do it. So, gotta, so to continue this, I need to ask you. So, what's the state of the project of the Polkadot ISPO? What are we waiting for?
Just a few more minutes for the devs to finish up the work, and once that'll be published and released, everybody can get rolling. And then
Uh,
we gotta wait on you to publish the articles, but that's like very quick, so that's it.
okay, I hope I'm not too busy talking to you. So, no, I'm kidding. I will release them once they give the go. Once they give the go, it will start making noise, and you know I can make a lot of
Yep.
noise. Yeah. So, but how is this? What's the difference? Like in the reality, what's the difference between the Cardano ISPO and the Polkadot ISPO? What like I'd be staking in both. So what do I expect in difference be like with the previous one we did?
Well, there's a few differences, right? I mean, the most obvious one that it's worth mentioning still, right, is that you have to stake different assets, right? So you got to stake ADA on the Cardano one, you need to stake DOT on the Polkadot one, which are the native assets of each of those networks. Then there's a difference in terms of how the rewards are issued. Like Polkadot, the equivalent of an epoch in Cardano is what you would call an era in Polkadot. And the eras in Polkadot are 24 hours, give or take, right? So they're closing out rewards every day, right? So you get more of a constant feedback in that sense, right? Just because the cycle is smaller um, than in Cardano, right? Cardano has like about give or take 5 days between every epoch. So that's one difference, shorter, the equivalent of shorter cycles, let's call that. There's also a minimum in the Polkadot world. There's a minimum of 250 to be able to become a what they call nominator, which is the equivalent of a delegator, right, in Cardano. So um, for everybody here, do check. We're posting in our blogs kind of like the equivalent of words, right? Like what word you would use in Cardano, what words you would use in Polkadot, and the fact that they're interchangeable, right? So there's a minimum, right, to be a nominator, right, or a delegator. And there's a minimum to be a nominator, and then there's another minimum to receive rewards, right? Because they have that difference in their system, that you can become a nominator, but not necessarily be receiving rewards immediately, right? There's like another minimum. Why they did that, I don't know, but that's just how they built the system. So all of those things are being published in our articles, so you can see that there. There's also something to account for because this might be a source of confusion. I mean, I'm sure some people will get confused, but it's important to understand that stake pool mean two different things in each of these worlds, right? In Cardano, a stake pool is pretty much synonymous with your validator, right? So you set up a node, your validator, you have a stake pool, right? So you can talk interchangeably by referring to stake pool, and it's the same as your validator. In Polkadot, it doesn't work like that. You have the validator, right, which is the node, actual node that's doing the block mining and that receives nominations or the equivalent of a delegation, right? And then you have the concept of a stake pool, which is separate, right? Why do they have this stake pool? Because of the minimum that I just said, right? So if you don't meet the minimum, you can create a stake pool and partner with other people, right? And this is decentralized and trustless, right? So it's not like you need to. Um, well, there's some things you need to know that if you want to be part of a stake pool that's part of the DEGA ISPO, you need to check that the stake pool is done, it's nominating to the DEGA validator, right? But essentially, so in Polkadot, a stake pool is a separate concept where people pool their money, and then from that stake pool, they delegate to the validator, right? That's kind of like the difference there. So do watch out for that one, right? That's something that may generate some confusion. Other than that, obviously, you have different wallets, right? You have Polkadot.js and the Polkadot world. We all of you here know the Cardano wallets, right, on the Cardano world. So the tooling is different, of course. And the thing, like, I think that those are pretty much the most relevant differences, right? So again, shorter epochs, which are called eras in Polkadot, the difference between a stateful and a validator in Polkadot, which is the same thing in the Cardano world. And then there's a minimum for doing delegation, and um, then you have different tooling, right? Different wallets. So just those are kind of like the major differences.
I can check it out later, but by any chance, do you know what's the minimum?
Yeah, it's like 250 to be able to be a nominator, and then 450 to receive rewards or something like that. It'll be in the article. Just make sure to check the article.
Yes, everyone, please. We will release the article soon, and or as actually really, there's one already out, and there's another one coming. So check all the articles to make sure you're getting all these details. So very important, especially if you come from Cardano, knowing the difference and you wanna stake in both. But the rewards at the end for in DEGA tokens and all that are the same, Carlos, or do they also change?
There's a difference. Obviously, Polkadot has a different value than ADA, right? And the yield that you generate in the Polkadot validator is different, right? So there's different values in that sense. Like, ADA is like 25 cents. Polkadot, I think, is like $4 something. So obviously they're different. They're not one-to-one exchange there. But we have all those exchange rates. Those were published already in the article, so you can go and check the math there. It's just easier to see it in the article as well.
Okay, everyone, do the homework. Do the homework and do come help us. I'm always reminding you to
the space.
because we need to let everyone know about what we're talking about. Not only because it's a historic moment, also because it's an opportunity for people. So, Carlos, in the Cardano ISPO, I think you did something amazing, and you brought amazing Cardano players into the table as partners, as people backing up DEGA and projects that were already huge from really serious team, top tier teams that I don't know. It's like I don't even know how you got them, but the reason they believe in DEGA being so young and getting their backing, it was amazing. So what do we expect on the partners in Polkadot, or what type of partners?
So we've already announced two partnerships already, right? The first one was Unique Network. So on their side, they've built already a parachain, right? Which is, you could look at parachains as the equivalent of side chains for Polkadot. It's just that it's natively integrated within their ecosystems. Like, they built Polkadot as a platform to have parachains, right? So Unique Network decided to focus on having native NFT feature set, right? And they also support EVM systems as well. So they were a natural fit for us, right? As you know, everything that we're building in our API is to be able to enable game development with Web3 systems. And they have a lot of that feature set ready to roll. And on our side, as I've said many times, we made our system in a way that it's abstracted in terms of how you use it from what the implementation is underneath, right? So we can work with the systems that have been built by Unique Network, and we can work on top of other blockchains such as Cardano, Moonbeam, whatever, and you can keep using the same API, and you don't even need to be aware that you're working with a different implementation underneath, right? So that was the first partnership, Unique Network. We'll be doing an AMA with them next week with their community. And the other one was Exiled Racers, right, which was announced yesterday. Exiled Racers is a algorithmic game. It's kind of like based on a racing simulation. So what you do is, like, before the race starts, you can basically pick your racer and modify your stats as best as you can. And then once the race starts, it's basically algorithmic, right? So it has probabilistic operations built in by the gameplay and the software, but it's not an active gameplay, right? Like it's not esports competitive racing, right? It's self-executing automatically um, via an algorithm, right? And then people can do predictions on top of those races, right? We'll be doing an announcement with them today about a very cool and massive event that we'll be covering with them, in which we'll bring the DEGA tribes to check out their gameplay. And basically, XL Racers will also support everybody in the support us to be connected with everybody in the Polkadot ecosystem, right, through this event. So this is a big opportunity for everybody here in the DECA community, right? So as soon as you see that we come out with this major announcement with XL Racers to support us to connect with those Polkadot brands, right? So those are the two that we've already publicly announced, and there's a few more coming, at least two more, probably in the next 2 weeks. So, you know, stay tuned for that one as well.
No, and I love them because all the partners you brought, they're like really cool, nice people. First, the Cornelius in Cardano, that was an amazing connection, and meeting that community, I fell in love with the game, I fell in love with the team, but I fell in love with the people there. And also, right now, I've been digging into the Exile Racers, and I've been talking a lot with them, and they're awesome. They're really cool. They're fun. They're excited and they're rebellious, and so all these partnerships you're bringing kind of like connect on a higher level in that systems view you have of everything smartly connecting, and like it's exponential connections that what you're bringing, and I really love that about the partnerships and how this I can see this ecosystem being formed right now.
Yep. Yeah. No,
It's kind
it's
of
been
like
great, man. I have to say, and yeah, we're very excited to connect with the Polkadot world. There's a lot of people there that have been building interesting things, right? And it's time to like bring them to market, you could say, right? And we see that the ISPO system will probably bootstrap a lot of growth within their ecosystem, just like it has in the Cardano world, right? So looking forward to that.
I know for me, dude, since I knew what an ISPO was and that we were taking it multi-chain, in my head, it was kind of like the next bull run, it will be ISPO. About ISPOs.
ISPO summer, bro.
It is what yeah, exactly. So and they got building this technology for everyone to launch their own ISPO. Oh, it's a major explosion. It's insane. But so what do you and talking that way and looking not that far away because we've talked about the long-term vision of Carlos. And if you analyze people, if you analyze the partnerships coming into the project, you can actually see Carlos painting this masterwork of art. Take a look at the partnerships and look at it like a painting being worked on by Carlos. You can start you can see that picture. You can start seeing that picture. But Carlos, what do you expect to achieve in the long term with this specifically with this dot ISPO?
Well, I think that it's just about connecting with the people that are building there and giving them a new mechanism to fund their initiatives, right? I would say that's kind of like the short term thing that we need to do, right? And now the Polkadot ecosystem can be another place where we can onboard projects that need crowdfunding, right? So in general, um, the ISPO platform where it's headed is towards becoming a generalized crowdfunding platform for gaming, right? Where you can have Cardano pools, Polkadot pools, Polygon pools, Ethereum pools, and we'll keep adding other chains Just again because ISPOs are capital intensive. So the more capital that you can tap into, the more projects you can help. So that's kind of like where it's gonna head. So whatever you're seeing today, like in terms of how we go about doing ISPOs, this is just the most basic, rudimentary version of the product, right? We expect to evolve it to the point in which it becomes just super simple to use and that it's accessible to anybody anywhere. That's kind of like the vision that we want to do with ISPOs. Probably even swap the name ISPO for something more friendly, right? Something crowdfunding related, but with a unique twist, so people know about it. But that's kind of like the vision that we have there.
Crowd pooling or something.
Crowd, hey, that's
I
actually
don't know.
that's not bad. Crowd pooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we can call it like that. We can do an experiment.
Crowd pooling. Yeah, we'll try out a few names, but yes, essentially that's what we want to do, right? So we see a world in which we're bringing on board new companies from emerging markets using ISPOs to fund them and then take them all the way to a successful deployment.
Dude, I do dream to do an ISPO. Once we finish all these things, I do have plans for projects and ISPOs inside the DEGA universe. So yeah, I'll be part of the renaming campaign. But Carlos, I still gotta ask you something, and this is coming from a personal perspective. So I hope everyone forgives me. I want to invite everyone in here to ask your questions. Chat, just write them down. We will answer them. It can be about anything, and it can be about the Polkadot ISPO, or it can be about whatever you want.
Yep.
But I gotta ask you something personal: is how the fuck did you came up with taking ISPOs to other blockchains? It is like no one's got a bad. How was it? Is fucking insane. It's pure innovation.
Well, that actually came about in a conversation with our partner Ken Alling, right? Partner and investor from Melt Finance. He has done the largest IPO ever with $1 billion in delegations and over $14 million generated in yield. Um, so yeah, we were having a conversation about hey, let's do ISPOs, and then he was like, have you considered doing ISPOs on our chains? I was like, let me think about it. Like, is it even possible? And then I started thinking about how you would do it in Ethereum, in Polygon, in other systems, and then it came to me like, yeah, we can use basically what's called liquid staking derivatives or LSD, which is liquid staking tokens, right? Like Lido and Stater, for example. And through those systems, we can do ISPOs, right? Which is how we've built already those smart contracts for those blockchains. So it was very organically, right? Like it was just like talking, hey, it'd be cool to do this. And I was like, okay, let's try it out. Let's see if it can be done. And that's kind of like how it came about, right? And then it just made instant sense just because ISPOs are capital intensive, right? So I need to be able to access the largest amount of market caps to be able to have a larger delegation, which in turn means more yield, which in turn means more projects that we can support. So that's kind of like how it came about.
So the way I picture it, what you told it is kind of like you went with Ken to Tikal or a place like that, and went into the pyramid, and the god spoke to you and gave you a message. But yeah, that didn't happen in reality, but that might have happened in another Dega plane, in one of the Dega realm. So I don't know, people. Do you have questions? Anyone wants to jump in, ask questions? I see the usual suspects here. Also, we got Cher, Z, Kev. Here, if you wanna ask something, I know you all come from Cardano, but you've been really digging deep into Polkadot, guys. So if you wanna jump, feel free to do it, Carlos. But I gotta do another of the call to actions for our community, and is please share it to the world, people, because this is a new novel, really cool way, safest with less risk. of financing, supporting projects, and getting your own projects made. So, this is the place to be. This is where you should be looking at. This is where the change is happening. This is evolution. So, let the world know. We got to get the word out there. There's no one I've spoken to or spoken with where when you tell them about DEGA and the ISPOs and that what we're building, that doesn't get excited and that doesn't end up coming. So all we have to do is let the world know.
Yep, that's indeed the case. Like everybody that joins DEGA becomes a fan, man. And it's like for us, it's a true honor and a pleasure to be able to connect with so many brilliant and hardworking people and passionate as well about what we're doing and our own, our visions align. So, yeah, it's more about just getting out there and connecting with more people. But so far, it's been great. Everybody joining the DECA community has been awesome.
Yo, there's this great philosopher in the cornucopias community, and it's the philosopher is called Seven, and he has the right words that we gotta use for this moment, Carlos.
Hmm.
And this is directly from Seven with the right words for us. That's what we gotta do. Gotta pop that.
Hmm.
And that's how it is. Today's a party. We're writing history, people. So let's pop that.
Nice, nice.
Ah, I love that song. So, Carlos, there are no questions here. If there's anything you want to do to close the space, anything you want to say?
No, just invite everybody to help us out today. As soon as we announce the ISPO, do push it as best as you can to other communities. Obviously, if you know Polkadot communities, that's even better because everybody there is a potential ISPO member. And other than that, stay tuned for all the amazing announcements that we're going to be having. We're literally going to be throwing a party with our friends from Exile Racers. And all of those details are going to be coming out. It's going to be both a physical and a digital party. So stay tuned on that side. And, keep it rolling.
Follow us in our socials, get the tweets going, come visit us in our Discord, hang out with us, let's spend some time. Today, we are launching the first ever in history Polkadot ISPO, making DEGA the first multi chain ISPO. I'm going to say in the world, but I think it would be in the universe.
Yeah.
So, people, dude, and different dimensions. I don't know. Maybe other dimensions have other ways of doing ISPO, but people, let's get the ball rolling. Let's wait for that announcement. And once it comes out, let's just pop that. Let the world know. And let's have fun. Thank you, Carlos, for that. And let's make it happen. Let's get to work.
Let's get rolling, man. See you in the metaverse, everybody. Bye bye.
See you in the Dega realms, in the Dega universe. Okay, everyone. I leave you with one of the finalist songs of our Dega content creation contest, and it's called Dega Explorer. I really love this song. See you in the Discord. Let's have fun.